recording.
Oh, you are, okay.
Recording, call the meeting, we just call the
Oh,
meeting
you
to
gotta
order. Call the meeting to order at 9:40. Okay, now we're official.
Now we're official, all right. Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me to come speak with you all today. I don't do a formal presentation. I am more interested in hearing from you into what your questions and concerns are, where you're stuck, what you want to learn, what you need to find out about, how I can help you. And we can do as much as we can today. And then I'll write a report that tries to summarize what we've talked about today and point out additional resources and other best practice and recommendations that you can think about as kind of a roadmap as you move forward. Mm-hmm. But it's good to hear, we had started talking before the meeting officially was convened about, one thing I'm always curious about is how the different entities that might have responsibility for cultural heritage material in a town relate to each other. So I had asked if there was an historical society in town, and I often need to get educated on what the intricacies are of how does Byfield relate to Newbury, to Old Newbury, to Newburyport, how does this all relate historically, as well as in the present day. So if you don't mind giving me a little bit of information about that, that would be helpful too.
I have some dates. I just know this because I'm a docent, so I.
Excellent, you.
Yeah. So Newbury, 1635. And it wasn't until 1764 that Newbury's port broke away and became its own town.
Okay.
And then it was Byfield. When did Byfield parish? That's what I don't know. Byfield is still a parish.
West Newbury was first and then Byfield, I think.
West Newbury was 1819.
So
became their own town.
Oh, I'm thinking, the parish. I was thinking
Byfield Parish, late 16s, because Mahedable Moody, and they started the church there, I want to say in 1690s, somewhere around there.
So up until 1819, when West Newbury was separated, that was all Newbury. Okay. And that's what I have always considered, like the Historical Society of Old Newbury encompassed all of that, except I don't know what year it was. West Newbury does have their own historical society.
Okay. And then there's Plum Island. Is that somehow associated with Byfield?
Well, with Newbury.
With Newbury. Okay.
Byfield is a parish.
Okay. Within.
It's within Newbury.
Got it.
So technically, we have 3 sections of Newbury.
Okay.
Byfield, what we call Old Town.
Old Town.
And part of Plum Island is Newbury.
And do you refer to them as parishes still, or are they? I mean, out in Western Mass we have villages. Like
well, this is the village of Byfield that you're in right now.
All right, so you guys do village too.
But
village, we have
still
parish. I would say still parish.
Byfield Parish. Plum Island is just geographical.
Okay.
It's just a chunk of property.
All right.
And however, this is the Newbury Library.
Right.
So even though it's in Byfield,
it's the Newbury Town
Library.
Library.
It often gets called the Byfield Library.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Well, I haven't two different zip codes. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes it easier.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I live up in Vermont, and I am geographically in one town. My post office box is in another town, and the closest village is yet another town. So it's the way it's done here in New England. All right. Well, that's helpful. Thank you. So I get the sense. I mean, I know Jean, you're the director of the library here, and are the rest of you our historical commission members?
Yes.
yes.
What's the relationship between the library and the historical commission?
Officially.
Yeah. That was just
Informally or
Yeah.
officially, or and I'm thinking specifically about. I mean, do you manage this room for Jean?
We don't.
No,
but
we
that's
need to implement a system, correct me if I'm wrong, to manage this room and to set in operation handling, visitors, the artifacts themselves, what is procedure that other bigger libraries use for some of these irreplaceable books, and what policy, care, things like that. Then inside this building we have multiple large file cabinets that consist of our scrap, unsorted
Okay.
pictures, documents, which we haven't even gotten scratched the surface with yet.
Yes, and I've been at the library, I've worked at the library for 20 years, I've only been director for a year. We've lost positions over the years. We used to have a full-time reference librarian who pretty much managed it, I mean, at least could answer questions and things like that. And then that position was eliminated about 10 years ago, and then we pretty much, for any kind of inquiries about the room, we were directed to Dick Cunningham, who was basically our local expert. So there's nobody on staff, and our staff is so small enough so that we cannot manage the room. Nobody can take ownership of the room, so it's
A
one.
lot of our stuff too is in the small school, the little schoolhouse.
Right, that's what
So
I
that's
was-
unheated and it's,
Yep.
you know, I mean, it's, whatever it is outside, it's in that room. It doesn't snow in there, and that's about it. This is stuff I brought over from the
Yeah,
schoolhouse.
that's,
I brought this to show how bad some stuff is, and then some to show we have other
Is
things.
that one of the organ music books?
No, I don't think so. No, this is
so how is the schoolhouse used now?
a geography book, I think.
Tours.
Geography of America.
Is it
Tours.
set up
It's
as a
all,
schoolhouse?
all
Yeah,
set up,
beautiful.
and we
Right, so-
open it on the weekends.
Great, so school books would be appropriate to have over there,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Are there other types of materials though that maybe don't help tell the story of the school that are just stored there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're becoming a mini museum. We don't mind that, because we have a lot of visitors. A lot of them are old school teachers, either they're former school teachers or they're current school teachers. And they just are fascinated with everything that's in the room, and people donate things to us, so
Yeah.
we display. We have a thing of snuff, we have, tins from the snuff mill, I'm not sure what the baseball is, but we have it. And, people give us things, and we also have a very, very, very old map. It's 1830,
1855.
is it?
1855.
Is it big?
It's a
Oh,
scroll,
map?
it's on linen,
Yeah.
it's been printed on linen and then shellacked or varnished.
Yep.
I mean, it's,
So we're looking to have
and
some.
then it was in the attic
Look
for
at
how
that.
many years? 100 years, I don't know.
So-
Yeah.
Isn't that where it came from, the attic? I think that's what Chris told me.
Well, because things were put in the attic when it was a DPW storage facility.
Oh, yeah, right.
So including the organ that's an 1830-something, I think it is, organ, and the map, and all of the furniture actually in the school, the desks are all original. They were all, some wonderful person put them in the attic of the schoolhouse
And,
instead of tossing them.
Yep.
So then, when the bicentennial came, they were offering matching funds, and the town put up half the money and restored the schoolhouse, so
It's really nice.
it's really kinda cool, so.
yeah, that's great, okay. All right, and that's, the historical commission takes care of that. Okay, so you have a broader scope, and this is often the case in towns across the Commonwealth, that historical commission, if you look at your record schedule, in the municipal record schedule, in terms of the records you are responsible for creating and maintaining according to the state, it's very limited. It's about documenting the work of the commission. They don't necessarily see you as having responsibility or custody for historical records, but in many towns, that's the case. And in some cases, it's not just things that might otherwise be in an historical society, but they might also have town records. That the town clerk at some phase was just like, it's old crap, I don't want it, and people, historically minded people in town would gather it up, and take it into the custody of the commission. So,
The other thing about the schoolhouse too is that it's located on the site of the first open green where they had the common house back in 1635, and there's when was the monument put up? It's 1931 or
I think it's
something like that.
That's
Anyway,
what
it's got the names of at least the men on the first boat that came in, the first ship. And so you get a lot of families in the summer. I got, the Doles came through once and there were like 10 or 12 of them.
Wow.
The whole family came through and I took them through my house, because that's, the Doles owned my house for a long time. But so you get, we do that too, so it's not just like you said, teachers and things,
Yeah.
it's the families coming back to discover their, the family history.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyhow, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems
we
like,
have, I feel like we really do provide a good service. by
yeah, that sounds
doing
like a wonderful asset, and it sounds
Yeah.
like a great place to have a museum, that should be a museum. Whereas this seems like a wonderful place to allow people to do research.
Yeah,
Like, this would be the place where you would have folks who are interested in not just seeing the house and looking at the
Yeah.
name on a plaque, but are like, what do you have in paper form that might tell me more about my family?
we direct them to there's the first cemetery is right down, like,
Mhm.
what, 500,000 feet down the road. The Evergreen is kind of the second cemetery, I guess. The Evergreen Cemetery is another 1,000 feet down in a different direction. So I always direct people like the Doles to those two places to look for stones, and a lot of them are doing research.
Yep.
My girlfriend from college came here. Guess what her family is? Parker. It's the Parkers. Yeah.
Thomas
I'm
Hart.
gonna have to run to work, so good luck, everybody.
Okay,
Oh,
well, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Thanks for
Mary.
convening us.
thanks for helping me in with all my stuff.
So regarding people, because we get, inquiries from all around the country really, about, my family lived
Yes.
and we have been directing those questions to Dick Cunningham's daughter, basically, because she knows the
She
collection.
carried on the torch?
Pretty much so,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
she's been kind enough to let us put people in contact with her.
But she doesn't have an interest in getting kind of official hours in here and being open and,
I don't know, I kinda doubt it.
unless maybe, I don't know if you could, again, maybe if there was funding available to pay her to do that, she might be more
Possibly.
interested.
I wanted to ask you about funding too, for interns,
Yeah.
and where we look for that. But we're gonna have to do that now. I've got
Yeah.
it down here, I won't let you get away.
Okay, all right, I'm talking about that. Yeah, and it is really important to think about staffing, and I see this a lot in local history rooms set up in public libraries where they have the presence of mind to actually include it in the building plans, and it may or to varying degrees is sensitive to creating an environment that'll be good for materials you're hoping to keep for the long term, unlike the circulating collection, which, goes in and out of here and is not necessarily, what's on the shelves now, 50 years, who knows what, you could probably tell me what percentage would be there still, maybe 2%, books cycle out.
Yes.
Whereas the historical room, the intent at least is that the resources that are here will be here, they'll persist. So you might get a decent, you'll have a room, you'll have it set up in a good way where things can be secured, maybe there isn't a lot of light, but there's how do people actually use materials, and who's overseeing that? And no, we don't have a local history librarian, and we don't have even 5 hours a week that we can spare out of our employee time to put toward it. So what do you do? And if you're lucky if you have someone in the community who is kind of the either official or unofficial town historian.
Yeah.
But the thing that happens there, and I've seen this too, is that person passes on or retires to Florida. And then there's this vacuum that can be really hard to fill.
Absolutely.
Guy's really young.
Oh,
Chris, God, he had all these projects going on, he was the one to pass the torch to, and then he dies in his 30s.
Oh my gosh.
So you really don't need a person who knows the history because they grew up here. You need somebody who's interested in knowing the history.
That's
Like
a great
he
point.
was. He was an outsider, but he was fascinated by it, and he compiled all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've only lived here 9 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's often I see that it's people from away who actually bring fresh energy and interest.
People wanna know where they're living now, and they
Yeah.
Yeah.
dig in,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we have Eva, she's a walking, living history.
Right.
Dick actually said that to me once. when I come in with his lectures, I was always so honored when he'd point a direction, in my direction, and ask, and, yeah, I think Dick wrote really well. But
His brain was unbelievable.
but like he said, he knows what he knows, because he was Byfield, you know?
Right.
And I think I'm the same way. I really know Old Town better than I do. So it kind of takes more than one.
Yeah.
Combinations.
And, yeah, and it's too bad that we couldn't find at least 4, and maybe have somebody here available on a weekend. So if somebody comes in, there's somebody with some kind of knowledge on how to dig in or where to direct them.
Yeah.
Like Dick did, right? He was here on the weekend, right?
Yeah, and even if it was like even office hours where you'd be here, somebody would be here for 4 hours.
That's what I would.
Like we have the school's open for,
Well, I think this room probably needs that. By the time you look at the new collections coming in, whether they should be in this room or not, and just everything involved here, yeah, easily.
And we get a lot of phone calls too from all around the country.
Yep.
And those are the ones right now we're directing to Barbara.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, doesn't Town Hall also get
Yeah.
queries? I mean,
Yeah.
so you get hit these history queries
And
from all over.
now I'm mostly getting them because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the assistant town clerk too, so
Ah, beautiful.
I'm like spread all over the place.
Yeah.
But we have records back to 1635 in the town hall, in town records, so, which right now are in a storage facility because our town hall is the police station at the moment while we're building a new police station. So we're over at the office park right before you got here.
Yeah, yeah.
And but
And
supposedly it's, it's secured and it's supposed to be, environmentally safe because it's storing people's, it's a it's like a used storage kind of place,
but not fireproof. And we've got the biggest collection of records in the country, oldest, and not able to, if somebody went in there, they couldn't get a copy. Because they have no way,
It's the oldest in the country?
oldest and most complete
Most
in the
complete.
country, yeah. Oh, maybe not oldest, but most complete, yeah. Well, that safe was locked for 76 years. All the books were in it. The guy that knew the combination died. It wasn't until Richard Knight finally broke it open in like 68. But here,
You gotta write this down.
I actually have that
Stories.
piece. The Penn published that one of their.
Okay.
But you could come here and get copies of the 1635 proprietors books. Because you can view them and print them here. Although that machine is horrible.
Yes.
And the quality of it, and it's difficult.
because they're.
But at least you can do it. Now, Town Hall's not even capable, because their machine's broken, I believe. If you even still have it after the move.
I don't
Because it
think
was
we still
broken.
have it.
And, and you can't put any of those books on their scanner, because it's not proper. So really, here at the library is the only place right now that somebody from the outside could access those books, because it is on microfilm, or a fiche,
I
whatever
don't
you
know,
call it.
is there a service that takes microfilm and puts in, digitizes it?
I tried to call them.
I've asked and I haven't found one.
Well, the
I
Holbrook
found one actually.
Ooh.
The Holbrook Institute already
Thank you.
has them. They have not, I have 2 emails, they have not returned them.
Well, they have digitized already.
They have them
Oh,
on
okay.
those microfiche.
Okay.
Because ours is microfilm.
Oh, well, I guess that's what it is.
Fish and film is different.
Yeah, the film is on the rules.
No,
The
this
fiche
is
is
the
the
fiche.
cards.
These are
Oh,
the
okay.
fiche. Do you have
Oh,
them
okay.
on the roll?
I tried to find it
You
from
just
microfilm.
the fiche.
Basically the same thing,
It's
just a
the same
different
thing. They're the
environment
microphone.
stored in.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
So I've already contacted them, but I can't get through. Now, they've changed. It's not so much the Holbrook Institute, it's the Open Library, I think it's called. They're under.
Is that like an online,
Yeah.
web presence?
Yeah, and right now they do have one, a proprietor's book that's not official, it's a field book. They do have one on there that you can research. But they did all of the town records. Was it 78? I think the index that's here tells you what year it was done. So I've tried to contact them to see if I could even get the microfiche on CD. It would be way easier than what we're doing now, but they haven't. I've tried twice, they have not answered me. And, I don't know, maybe.
But is that something the BPL does, Rachel?
They are not converting film at this point.
How about microfiche?
Mm-mm.
You that either?
Well, I
There are
did contact
companies-
somebody that,
there are
yeah,
companies
there are
that do
companies. The one that did it for Newburyport for their, I think for their older copies of the Daily News maybe.
And I would look at the quality of the fiche or the film, before going that direction.
Yeah, I sent him a sample and he seemed to think it was
It was
good to
okay?
go, yeah.
All right, because the other thing you could do is have them scanned by the Boston Public Library, through, the Digital Commonwealth Program. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
anything about that. So they have a branch of the Internet Archive at the BPL, and they would actually do the town records, cause they're volumes, I assume. And they would, the way they handle them is they don't put them down on a platen to scan them, they take photographs.
Wow.
Right, well, where that was already done through the Holbrook, I
Yeah.
thought that,
Yeah, if it's
just
been done and it's
cost-effective
good quality.
for everybody, if we could,
Just
yeah,
do
but I'm
that.
just having trouble with content.
But you're talking
Yeah.
about the books, not the microfiche.
Yeah, that's what's on the microfiche, it's all the books.
Okay.
So it's
It's
been.
all the
Oh, like we've got the originals, or we've got these type of things for like the Newbury annual report, going back into the
Those are all
1800s.
copies, yeah.
Those we've got copies of
Oh, I don't know
those.
what year these go up to, but the information sheet's right behind you in this,
Oh, okay.
in
We've got
this.
the original, most of the original.
Well, we've got these things in the
I
schoolhouse,
believe that.
the
I
annual
think the
report.
index is right.
So
in
it
the
says how
front.
much they paid the teacher,
Right,
who the
right.
teacher was,
Yeah.
talks about the two parishes, and
Yeah.
anyway,
It's a
okay,
annual
2000.
report.
yeah. So here's a question, so
I thought if we
microfilm,
could just get,
Yeah.
is that
Yes,
a
but you get
positive
all
or a
of it.
negative
That's
image?
I mean, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
this
material
is-
in there.
this is-
That's what they found in the safe, when they found
They're
the
like the
safe open, it was
negatives,
full of the old
so-
books.
Yeah,
The reason I'm asking is, I've had
But
8
that
millimeter.
machine's
That's
really
what it
good.
is.
I had 8 that's like that. I had 8mm film,
I don't know if you
of
ever
my
used one,
wedding.
but it's awful.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I sent it off to this place in Arizona.
Yeah.
They
I'm almost
clean
getting
it, wash
thirst.
it, oil it,
Yeah.
refurbish it, and
Huh.
digitize it. And for like
All right.
$150.
I might take a copy of this before I leave, because
Yeah.
I
For
was,
a
well, I'm
for a
kinda
two-
looking
two
into the
spools.
internet, maybe I
Two
can find
spools.
something
Yeah.
here that.
I don't know how they can do that
just
at
can't
that
get rid of
price.
the answer.
But if they can do that, they could do,
They're pretty
they
low.
could probably do microfilm,
Yeah.
microfilm.
Oxford, yeah.
I could ask, but you said
Or
you found a
fiche,
place.
But you think it's fiche. Yeah, I did find a place.
Well, this has
I
got,
have to
you can,
check
see-
my
I can
mail.
see that it does microfilm because it's got the spools. I just
But-
don't know
no,
if we
but
have
also-
any.
No,
You can do
you
both.
see this plate?
They can do both.
Yeah.
The plate, you put the fish on.
No, but I mean, do we have anything on microfilm?
Oh, well, I'm not sure.
Because I've got a place that could probably digitize it for us for next to nothing.
They'd probably be in here. Oh, no, these are the fish. These are all
That's the
fish.
fish.
No,
Other
okay.
fish, that's it.
They don't, they would probably
see
do
the
that, but they
schools
wouldn't
all-
separate the pages. They would take a picture, they would digitize the entire thing just as it is. We'd have to go in and pull pieces if we wanted to sort it by page.
Yes.
Well, the town hall is library, Leslie is looking into various advanced ways with one company, I know, they came in and, to give an idea of the costs and things like that, cause it's very expensive.
Well, if you
People
do,
don't realize how expensive it really is, I think.
What to do.
the
something like
Boston
this.
Public Library is a
Very-
free program,
Yeah.
it's your tax dollars at work. It's free,
Yeah.
scanning, so they only do X number of pages a year, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000, but every year you can send stuff in.
So
So
you mail it in?
they come and pick it up,
They come pick
and
it
they'll
up.
come and
Wow.
talk to you about the program if
That's
you
what, yeah.
are interested.
Yeah.
So,
So this is
I'll
the
put it down.
documents themselves that you're talking about?
yeah, that they would take original materials. So I would, first I would explore, following up with the Holbrook Research Institute.
Yeah, I
And
will.
You seem
Yeah.
like you're probably fairly tenacious, so see if you can find an answer about what is going on with whatever microfilm or microfiche that was created from your vital
Yeah.
records.
And that's what I asked, like, do they still belong to us? Are they our property? Is that why he doesn't have them searchable online?
Well, they may not be searchable online because they were just imaged, so it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can keyword search them.
Yeah.
But you would at least have images.
Right, and I didn't know if he owns the image?
Well, then it's gonna.
Or do we own the image?
Who, I assume it was the town clerk or the town,
It
that
started
agreed.
out, from what I read online, was a couple who were very interested in preserving records.
Exactly.
And they went from city and town hall to town, back, and recorded all this information on film, either as fiche or
So did the,
film itself. And they would give a copy of it to the, whichever institution it was, the town, the city, whatever. But they have, I guess, since they then digitized a lot of this information, but they sold their information to another company.
To Holbrook?
I-
No,
that-
this is another
that's why,
entity?
yeah, that's why I'm having trouble.
But the
It's
bottom
so-
line is like what Eva said was who really owns it? Do
Yeah.
we own it? It's our town records, but we didn't do the work,
Right,
so.
well, and what was the contract?
That's
Assuming
what
there
I wanted
was a
to ask,
contract.
was there a contract?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's part of the problem. It's kind of one of those iffy
You
things
don't
that
know
just
if there
happened.
was a contract? I know.
Do you know
Well,
how many
it's two-
records we have?
I know, this said it was 2000, I thought it was way earlier than that.
Yeah. I mean,
Unless
maybe
that
that
was
there
in-
is some trace in town records from 2000 that'll give you some clue as to
Well,
what.
that's what I'm wondering, I can help with
And that other one is called the Digital Commonwealth Program, the one through Boston Public Library?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what that provides is Digital Commonwealth provides a portal where you can put this stuff.
Mhm.
Some of it will go on Internet Archive, and then if you had photographs or documents that you had them scanned, those would be available through Digital Commonwealth.
And that's the one that you said they only do a certain number every year and they're free.
And they do the indexing and everything so that it is searchable.
They will do if you can do the metadata, that's great, but if you can't, they will
Right.
provide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, no, it's a great service. And another thing to think about is many towns are starting with published town reports, and yearbooks, and it's kind of a coordinated collaborative effort between, it might be the library and the town clerk, like, okay, let's get a complete run between us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can get a complete run of town reports and get those digitized if they haven't already been, and get those up.
How
So
Yeah,
you
far
we
can
don't
back-
have any
pursue-
yearbooks, but we can ask for them, but I guess they have them at the town.
Yearbooks?
Yeah, I thought you told me that once, no?
We have town records,
But not yearbooks.
like,
Yeah, the
when
town-
when you
town
say
report,
yearbook,
they
I'm
used to send
thinking
it to
high
everybody's
school.
house every year.
I think she is thinking high
High
school.
school, high school
High school
yearbooks,
yearbooks,
is that,
Yearbook, yeah, we could ask for that.
they don't have any of that
Yeah.
stuff, it's not town stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, technically,
School
Yeah, that's
town.
more typically often the public library has them.
Yeah, Newburyport hasn't it?
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
how far
Museum
back do our
doesn't.
actual town reports go? Do you know the one they used to send out every year? How far?
How far they go
Yeah,
back?
they go back
Oh,
to the beginning.
geez. What are the earliest ones you
Yeah.
have
Ones up
in the,
there.
in the,
The
schoolhouse?
schoolhouse is only 1800s.
18,
Yeah, so Amy's high
eighteen
schools go way
48, I think,
back.
is the
So I
oldest
put
one.
could
them in
actually
these
go
from
protective sheets
whatever
and
But after that, we got
What you said,
binders that
a
we
complete
got
record.
from a reputable firm, and, but the originals are all in town hall, I mean.
The original
Well, the
town
things-
reports?
The town reports, they're published, so there's multiple originals.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, yeah, but that's a good idea, get a full from the first year
yeah,
to.
work together to see if
to
you
the
guys can
end,
get a complete
Because
run.
those have birth dates,
Yeah.
deaths, they have
Yeah.
all that stuff in there, so, yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
good idea, a complete record of those on, digital.
Jan, you know which one's missing out of those annual reports? 1877.
I know.
Oh, it was the year of the schoolhouse, right?
The year they built the schoolhouse.
That's funny.
It's such, yeah, it's crazy. It's probably somewhere, I don't think somebody took
Well,
it.
those are copies, I think, that someone sent down there, gave to us. Those aren't the original. When I say the originals, I'm talking about, there's a set in town hall
Right, that they kept.
that is the
Right.
entire.
Oh, in addition to what we've got in the schoolhouse.
Right, those,
Right.
so
Oh.
those, like, you know how you go to the town meeting, you get, but it's like this now, but
Used to be a book.
everybody would, people would get the book, so
Yeah.
somebody had them, must have had them in their attic,
Right,
or
they just
somebody,
donated.
and they
Oh.
gave them to us apparently, and
Okay.
so they're down there. So, cause we
They weren't
have,
in the safe.
So that's a good
Okay.
idea.
well, the stuff that was in the
So
safe
those
is
digitized.
in storage, so, and some of those books have been, sent out. And, but they take them out, we have the original binders, which are, like leather, all.
Yeah, they're all leather bound, yeah.
And, one company took them out of the book and kept the book in the front section of some of the things are like this, but they're really heavy. And then all the pages have been cleaned and,
Is this Browns
Japanese
River?
riced paper, fixed and whatever, and
Wow,
put in binders like, and they're all in plastic.
yeah, individual
But we can't
pages.
photograph these things because, like, you can't put them on a scanner, I mean, on the, photocopier because of the light.
Yeah,
You can't have that blasting light going through them, plus, you know, you'd be, you know, mucking up with the binders.
So
No,
how-
people take photographs now.
But it's a
much-
different light, I think.
Well, it's tough
not-
if it's been encapsulated, because you're gonna get a sheen off of that polyester.
Yeah,
So
And if you-
how do they digitize? How do they digitize if we have 400 copies of annual reports and they're on paper? How do they
Oh,
do that?
the annual reports are gonna be
Yes, they're like that,
like that.
yes,
They are not, I can't imagine that those would have been encapsulated.
right?
I think you're talking about original vital records,
Right,
manuscript
proprietors'
volumes.
books
Yes,
and stuff,
proprietors'
yeah.
books,
Oh, okay.
birth, death, marriages, and yes, many towns have gotten like the over-treatment from Co-File or
Mhm.
Browns River, where they just like do way more than they really have to, and I'm not a huge fan because they tend to explode the book. I mean, you can't, it's not the same experience as it was before they put their hands on it, because now it's this 20-pound post-hole binding thing that it's really hard to manage.
Yep.
Yeah, each page now, you can put your fingers all over it, you don't have to worry about your finger grease, but it's a little over the top.
And if you're looking for a piece for like a court and you need a stamped, certified copy, in my past experience, that had to be an original from the town clerk. Well, that's really not a good thing for us to be doing with this proprietor's books from 1635. So how do the town would have it, I mean, anybody, if they're digitized, anybody can print it out. But to have it certified by the town clerk, whether they'd have to go and look in the original book. You know, because that's the whole point, keeping the books protected. But then again, if you, for legal purposes, if
Yeah,
you
they're,
get
they're still active
certified,
records, I mean, they still have to be able to be used.
Right.
Yeah.
so you can't just rely all on a digital.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to be able to utilize the original
Original,
book in a way
yeah.
that's not gonna damage them.
Right, and that's also why it's important for town records to stay in proximity to the town officers, so that they can,
Well, yeah, and
Provide
actually,
access.
these books actually
and
say
abide by the
that.
public records laws.
They say right in the back that they're supposed to be in the clerk's hands forever,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I mean, you know, people just don't appreciate what the responsibility, I know I didn't until I started to go down there, and, I'm
Yeah.
like, town clerks, which city clerks are the same but different, cause they have different manage of government, but it's a massive responsibility.
yeah.
Massive, and trying to preserve these things, plus do day-to-day town, and people always call and look at their grandparents or their great-grandparents or something's birth records, which are in, of course, these gigantic log books,
Yep.
and we have to type them up, birth certificates.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a lot of time.
it is,
And
but
clerk
it's,
for a town hall.
but
to be
otherwise,
able
it's a picture of a page that's, and it's written all the way across.
to- Right,
In these big, huge books, I mean, they're like this big, so it's kind of fun, but it's,
Yeah,
but we
the
have the
timing's-
records.
right.
So it's, they're preserved, and plus the safe debacle really helped us. We had the ear tag book, and,
Yeah, the tags, the clip tags for your animal,
For
yeah.
animals.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
cool.
But yeah, that's how many books, these books, when they did, after 79 years, opened the safe, which was actually left behind. They had moved the old town hall, and it was in one corner in the basement. When they opened it, it was just full of all the old books, and that's why.
and definitely probably an anti-environment in there.
Right. Yep.
So preserve them all.
So how do you feel about, in this town, where we have this room, we have file cabinets out there that belongs to the historical commission, we have a one-room schoolhouse that's unheated, and we have storage for town hall that has all the records.
Yeah, they're
Is
not
that-
fireproof, it kills me,
Right. But I
yeah.
mean, how does that go into your worldview of keeping historical records all in one
Are-
place, or is it good to have them split up like that?
I think think your situation could be fine. For town hall records, once the police are sorted out, do you have a vault, Jan, that your materials go into?
When we get back to town hall, there was
Yeah.
a huge walk-in vault,
Okay,
but again,
I know, I wish they were still there,
Yeah.
I guess that.
so you just have to kind
Nice,
of
yeah.
get through
Don't
this.
move
I
in
know,
there, I guess.
I know, this has been like,
every meeting she hyperventilates.
because I never see anything like, I know that they're
That they're
they're
working on
climate
it.
controlled now, but they're still not fireproof, and it would just, I'd be like, I don't wanna, isn't it? That scares me.
So-
You know, a tragedy for everything in there, but
So kind of hold breath until those get back into town hall, but then that's fine, and they need to be there.
Yes.
It sounds like you guys in the town clerk's office are providing access, you're doing what you can.
Yeah,
So that, I think that's a
good
good
spot
piece.
for it. Okay.
And then in terms of the schoolhouse, I see that as your museum, your place for interpretation, both of the schoolhouse and of other Byfield historical topics as that, becomes something you wanna do. So that's where you'll have displays and exhibits. And
We've
then-
got, 3 cabinets now, glass cabinets,
Great.
those things are in that, I took some of the books out of there.
Yeah, and exhibits, a good thing to keep in mind is that nothing should be on exhibit for more than 3 months, 6 months max. Light damage is permanent and irreversible.
Oh,
And
right,
it's gonna fade things
Yeah.
out.
yeah, because the schoolhouse does have large windows.
yes.
Right, so something you might. want to
Nothing's
do-
in direct sunlight, but the indirect, the scatter is
Yeah,
just as bad.
Yeah, so you might wanna consider some kind of light blocking shade for when it's not open. That could also help with the temperature in the summertime.
That's interesting.
So that's a kind of a preservation action. you
Actually,
might
it doesn't
consider.
get that hot in there in the summertime.
It doesn't if we don't have to open the door.
Well, right, yeah.
But we have to keep the door open
yeah.
for people to come in, and then the
Right.
humidity and the
Comes
heat comes with
flying
it.
in.
But
Yeah.
when you first open it, it's not like an oven in there, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah,
breeze.
you know, it's like opening the cellar door in the heat of the summer, it's kinda nice down there, but
yeah.
then the furnace comes on, and it all comes to the door, but.
Mhm. And then this room, I think what I would encourage you to do here is to think of this more for the place for primary source material and unique or kind of rare items. And in order to make enough room to have those things there, so meaning, I haven't seen what's in your filing cabinets, but I'm guessing it's some like scrapbooks and
Yep.
that's gonna be more kind of unique material. I'd get that in here. And then
Where?
books like Soldiers and Sailors, they're beautiful, you guys have a really nice set, they're in gorgeous condition. Those are online, lots of libraries have them. These are not particularly unique. So they don't necessarily need to be
So
under-
people coming to look for Newbury history stuff are not gonna
They
wanna
might
see
wanna
those.
consult those,
Yeah.
and again, I don't know how much room Gina has out in the, ideally it would all be in here. But more important to me to get, things like this under a lock and key.
right,
Yeah.
This might be just kind of
yeah,
chaos.
scrapbooks are so.
Right, but this is original stuff, it's only one of these. And we could look at this and say, this can go in the recycling, cause it's really
Right.
not useful, or it's not Byfield, so we're gonna send it to Hatfield, or whatever. So it may be that they're not, but materials like this that relate to Byfield, those should be secured, and those should be things you're able to provide access to, that you're letting people know you have.
Mhm.
Yeah, scrapbooks are.
So when you say letting people know you have, how would,
Putting information on the internet.
saying we have this stuff available for you to look at
Yep.
and research.
And a simple listing on the local history page of the library
Yep.
website is with links from the historical commission page, and from, if you've got a page for the schoolhouse, again, trying to direct people
Mhm.
so it's really easy for them to see where things are. And even just, you could think about, and I don't know what makes sense in terms of what page would host this, but maybe the local history page on the library's site, and if you have questions, contact, if you are interested in vital records for the town, contact town clerk. If you're interested in finding out what other information might be in town, contact whoever is nominated to help people with resources in this room, assuming you're able to find someone who can take that on. And our wonderful museum is open on the weekends from, blip to blip, so you can kind of find one
Now, is this
portal.
something that we would actually, I hate to say it, I don't have a clue what's in this
Well,
place.
that's a good
Is
place
it
to start.
something that where you would have, okay, cabinet one, top shelf, these are, so if somebody came in, they could go right there and say, great, this is the stuff I'm looking for.
So, and that's what we need is
That's-
some.
Yeah, some
do
assembly.
the inventory, so.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the magic word,
Yep.
is inventory
And
and,
lost on how to start that.
hmm?
And what?
Kind of lost on how to go about
Right.
starting
Well,
that.
books are easy because it looks like these have all been, I assume, they've got beautiful call numbers on them, that they're maybe all in your own pack.
Yeah.
They're in the catalog, it says they're in the local history room, so those are in great shape.
Most of them, not all.
Most, so that would be kind of a shelf read. And what you might be doing there is trying to determine what books probably should stay in this room and what might be able to move out, or maybe move out to open shelves and you try to put, I don't know, I mean, could you put a lower shelf here?
Yeah, there's too much glass in this room.
There is so much glass in this room.
Yeah.
Yes, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, it's a wonderful
Yeah.
space, this is a great meeting room, and that's
Yeah.
the kicker in many public libraries, is the dual purposeness.
Right.
The local history room is storage for their materials, which of course want dark and cold.
Right.
And it's also their meeting room, and people like light and warmth, so
But shades would be,
shades would be great.
and just, in any particular kind of shade?
Light blocking of some
Light-
sort
light
that
blocking.
are not offensive to people who are
How
offended.
about
that
even
there's-
the UV?
You could do
the
UV
sheet?
film. You could
Yeah,
do film.
that you can put the film right on the
Yeah.
window,
That would
and then you won't have to worry about shades,
Yeah.
Yeah, and what,
and you won't, yeah.
is this north?
That's west.
North's that way,
All right.
kind of like that, right?
Yeah, so that's,
Is that film, I don't know. what
that's
that is.
southwest,
The
so
film that goes on
it's
the window?
mostly west.
Yeah, you might not get a ton of light breaking in here.
It just
On
keeps
books
creating
themselves,
rays,
yeah.
that's all, it
What's
wouldn't
wrong with that?
obstruct anything, it wouldn't, no.
And the stuff that's in the filing cabinets, and there's not a lot of space for cabinets in here, so I'd probably put it into archival document boxes and put it on the shelves. You've got nice deep shelves, so they'll
Deep,
fit.
right, these are all pulled forward, there's a lot of space behind them.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, that's right, yeah, they only go a certain,
Yeah,
There's
they look to be, what,
backspace.
about 18 inches deep,
Mm.
maybe?
Yeah, it might
Yeah.
be 16 or 18.
Yep.
Yeah, they're plenty deep.
Yep.
So you could get
So, it's a so really.
Yeah, north's that way.
So while I'm in here, I'm gonna give them a list. I have a list to- This, Eva made up this
Oh,
list of, like, rules and regulations, and I'm also just gonna give you my,
Oh, great.
because right now we don't really have any.
so we,
Yeah.
and then we, Lon ordered, and we had a meeting and got some of this tissue, these photo, we have different sizes. These are, archival project products, items.
Make sure they're okay.
These are
Yeah.
like page protectors.
Mhm.
We also got binders that you can put these in and then they slide in the box.
Yeah.
So that they're not in,
Yeah, and in many
and we
cases,
got
you
these boxes
kind
to
of-
put
kind
books and things in.
Mhm. Kind of like with the vital records, you can do that, but you don't have to do that. You can just get paper folders and document boxes.
All the paper folders I got are all acid-free.
And
Yeah.
those things will be plenty happy in that.
Yeah.
They don't, I mean, and the danger when you start introducing even inert polyesters is that they don't breathe the way paper does. So if materials have taken on moisture, you can create little microenvironments inside some of these sleeves. If your environment, I mean, I think things would be fine in this room in polyester, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Well, we have them for the schoolhouse, where we're like, and people are in and out, and I'm like touching everything.
Yeah, no, it's
So-
it's good for things that people are gonna be, and you want them to let, you want them to.
This
But
sits
not
out
for
on
long
our
storage.
table, so
Yeah.
people can look at it, it's in there.
Yeah, this would be
but-
great to get a really high quality facsimile of and let this rest in the dark. so it doesn't date anymore.
It's the picture of the.
Oh, right,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is the teacher they fired. I get a kick out of that. The only teacher we have a picture of was let go for cause. We have two pictures of her, with two different classes, and you can see how the kids changed in age between the two pictures. It was a kick. Yeah, I can't remember her name. Where is she?
And then we were talking about,
Miss Abbott.
and getting an intern that would be under the direction of the library.
Yeah.
Well, and so the second assessment, is that something you think we should go for? The arrangement and description training?
I would need to see more of if you actually have a lot of archival materials.
Okay,
At this point, I don't see a lot,
okay.
but I haven't seen the
Yeah,
file
there's a few
cabinets.
cases.
And there's a
And
couple
there's
things
some
that
boxes in
architect
there. Yeah, so we
services
can-
do.
You've got a bunch of scrapbooks, those might all be scrapbooks, so technically archival. And the distinction there is things that are published, so books and pamphlets like these guys.
Mhm.
You can still handle these archivally, you can manage them archivally, but these are technically publications. These things are the kinds of things that librarians will catalog and put a call number on and put on the shelf, and that's how you find them.
Right.
But for archives, the challenge is you could kind of devise call numbers for a scrapbook, and many places have done that, but you could also treat it as an archival item and give it a title, because of course you have to supply a title, unlike with published things, they tend to have titles. So it would be if you knew the creator of that person's name, scrapbook.
It's like that photo album that I did all that research
Yeah,
on.
so
And we
Samantha
took
Dole
pictures of,
photo album.
well, we've identified the family.
Beautiful.
So you could put down,
Dole family.
Dole
That's
family,
great
whatever it
with
was,
scrapbooks,
yeah.
it's those
Family,
Yeah.
photo
That's
album.
a great way to
And you know, all the pictures have Betty and Joy sitting in front of the cottage.
Identify what's in there.
Yeah, and then I was able to figure out what the family was and who these people were. and-
Right.
So we can
But I
actually,
couldn't find that, I was
we can
gonna bring it, I
actually
don't know where it
catalog
is.
scrapbooks.
You could, but I would
That's
encourage you
photographed.
to more what we, again, this is like the distinction of language, rather
I
than,
put it back in the drawer.
rather than catalog, process it. So think of it as an
Process
archival.
by name, yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's.
so, and in my report, I'll write out more about the difference between thinking like an archivist and thinking like a librarian. But I wouldn't try to shoehorn it into, do you use Dewey here? So I wouldn't try to shoehorn it into the Dewey classification scheme.
Okay.
And what if you have a publication such as, I believe that one on old homesteads, was that published by the Historical Society? Now, if it's not, like, and there's a.
Sons and daughters of.
Sons and daughters
Yeah.
of that one, or I know there's an assessors record from 1877, it's the only one I've ever
First settlers.
seen, in one of the boxes over here, which is our town record. So how do you treat something that's published outside of being a town record?
Well, most of the
Or
stuff
anything-
in here is a published thing that's not a town record, so I would treat it like a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say,
And there's a lot-
let's catalog this.
And there's like a lot of copies of that old.
Right, and that's the other thing you have to do is figure out how many copies of things do you need, because in published things, you often have, could have many. Yeah.
21, not 31, for the thing. So this was put out at the same time at the dedication of the monument that's at the green. That was put together. So that's, I guess, a town document then probably.
And it's a publication, this is not, I mean, to me.
Published in
It's
connection with
published,
the
it's
dedication.
Published, it's with the exception of things like annual reports, which are town records. This is in some other, this is in, it's obviously pulling probably from town records to come up with the information, but
Yeah.
it's a publication.
And we've got, we've made copies of all these things, so it's
Okay.
been, it's just scanned, I guess, or with Xerox, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, for lack of anything, but at
It's
least,
not,
but
it's not
to
digitized.
have information available down at the schoolhouse, so.
Mhm.
Cause technically we don't sell anything,
Mhm.
we accept donations, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Cause we are actually, it's actually part of the, it's part of the town, the historical commission is,
Yep. Yeah, then you're not a
sworn
private-
in by the,
Yeah, you're a public body,
So, yeah.
and that's part of what I was talking about in
So-
terms of you have a larger scope than historical commissions technically are supposed to have. Which leads to these kind of
Right, well, we're trying to get this, help Jean out and have Jean help us out by
Yeah,
And, yeah.
collaborating so that we can kind of pool our both, well, we have like fairly existent, annual stipend and, to get things done, so.
Yeah.
And they have not a very huge budget either, so we're trying to pool and help each other out so that, because we can't manage this.
Mhm.
We're not here.
Mhm.
People, some people are working, people are from all over all different sections of the town and all have different things going, so if we got an intern, like Gordon College has sent us inquiries and things, it's like, we can't sit in here, we don't have anybody here to monitor and like answer a question, which is why the library does, because when it's open, obviously the librarians are here, and so we're trying to collaborate so that.
Right.
It's very frustrating.
But you also need to, if you're gonna have an intern, you need to know what they're gonna do.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
What's this intern who's just shown up and is expectantly looking at you, what's the project?
Well, that's it, cause
Right,
we're
right.
like, we don't even know where to start with that,
So
so.
you need to figure that out, and an inventory is a great place to start, and we can dig into some stuff today, and I can try to get a sense of, yeah, this is something you could focus on, this could be a project, this would be good for this grant, you know, we can see what all
I
come up.
think the inventory is the place to start, because you gotta know what you have before you can decide what's.
Another
what's
place,
good.
it's great that you've done this, and policy and procedure is another thing, and that's something that you guys can work on. You know, and maybe starting with a collecting policy, you know, what you say, it sounds like you kinda take anything.
Well, if it's
For the most
people
part.
like, Uncle Ebenezer left us everything at his house and we found this stuff in the attic, or
Right.
this was always in the bow front and we don't want it, cause people are like from
Right.
maybe out of town or whatever.
Yeah.
So we just say, sure, bring it down, because we don't wanna lose anything that we might not already have, and
Yeah, but
But by the same token, there's pictures from the 70s when they had the green velour covers on the inside of their 1700s house, it's personal. It's not something we would even use, you know?
oh, but that might be,
70s will be history someday, I know.
yes, absolutely, might seem tacky still, but at some point. Yeah, no, it's more, if it's a thing that just happened to be in someone's house in Byfield for 50 years, does that mean you wanna keep it? You know, what does the connection to Byfield, what ought it to be? And I think you're absolutely right to keep your policy pretty open
Right.
so that you don't discourage people from approaching you. But you wanna be able to also point to, you know, we don't take ball jar collections anymore. I worked at one historical society in Delaware that had, I swear to God, 250 ball jars on display in a jam-packed space where you could barely move anyway, and it's like,
Yeah. Why?
and they were not produced in Duck Creek, you know, it wasn't like that was the local specialty.
I think my son went by that place and they were selling them for $1 a piece because my garage is full
Is
of
now
them.
full.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
place for
there's a box in one of his files of like a light bulb that Hytron produced and a few other things. So
Yeah, if they're
we
made
can
locally, that's cool.
coordinate
There-
as far as where artifacts actually go.
Yeah.
Because you certainly don't need any space taken up with artifacts.
Yeah, if artifacts could go to the schoolhouse, that would kind of be the natural place for them, because that's where they might be
And that'd be
exhibited.
part of the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an example of a couple other libraries' collection policies for their local history
Oh,
room, which I was all prepared to have the trustees look over and
Yeah,
approve, but then we decided to do this, so I held
Yeah.
off, but I've
Yeah.
got some that, you know, I'm aware if people donate something, I don't know if you have this, they sign a
you want them to sign
form.
a
a
deed.
deed, right.
And the
Deed,
reason, and
right.
what that does then, Jan, is if you take things, you get them to sign off on the fact that you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
So that if you turn around and you're like, okay, of these 10 things they gave us, we want 5, the other 5 are going to the flea market.
Right.
You have the
You
right
have
to
to,
do that.
Yeah.
Or the donor, you've gotten the donor to say, no, I want anything you don't decide to keep,
Comes
offer
back.
back to me first.
Right. That
So it's
deed will take
clear.
care of all that, yeah.
Yeah, the
Did
deed's
I put
huge.
deed on that list? I didn't even bring that list with me.
Deeds for gifts.
Okay, good.
You know what we should do in the schoolhouse? We should go upstairs, clean the attic out, put plywood down, and and get some kind of storage drawers or something up there, so that we can have our objects there and we can rotate them
like
in and
you
out.
said. Yep.
And they're not sitting on, on the insulation on the floor, I mean, or
Yep.
on the
Yeah.
boards.
And it
Just
also-
that would be an easy project for me and a couple of guys to do, or,
And it's probably, you're always probably gonna be interpreting the schoolhouse to some degree, because that's what it is. But a lot of places find the challenge is that they've had the same exhibit up for 10 years, and local folk feel like, I've been there, I've seen it, I don't need to go
No
back.
reason to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you are able to have a rotating exhibit in some
we have new
part of the
mannequins.
Hey,
We now have like children
We
in
have
the
children in the school
schoolhouse.
sitting at the
We have 2
desk.
children and we already had a teacher.
hey.
So
She lost her arm, somebody
one
took
of
her
our
arm.
members, made clothing, period,
Mhm.
not exact, but
Close enough.
to 1877, because that's that schoolhouse. There was an older schoolhouse on the green before that, so it's, and it is a good stopping point for people, so, and we like, to have people come in and enjoy it. It's,
Yep.
that's, to us, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
So, and the kids like sit at the desks and then they go, can they touch them? And we're like, yeah, you can touch
Yeah, I
everything.
mean, that's
This is-
wonderful, so that can be
This
a-
isn't a museum where everything's locked
Yeah.
behind glass or
Yep.
something,
Yeah.
No, and I
it's
think
a
and it-
schoolhouse.
for things
so-
that you do wanna protect, you've got the display cases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so,
And that could be
I
rotating.
love the collection of
materials.
books.
Yeah.
oh,
You
yeah,
made
I
a
love
good
the
point that we
collection
should,
books.
I wonder if we should put that.
All the
that
textbooks.
light reflecting, or the infrared blocking, not infrared.
UV film.
UV, thank you.
Yeah.
Film on our schoolhouse.
I don't know, because those windows go back to 1877, I'm not sure if we should put that stuff on there or
Well,
not.
it comes
And it just
off with
peels
a,
off.
with a
It-
razor.
yeah.
So,
It's just, they're
because
all
there were,
over.
we have shade things there, they're
Yeah.
on the windows, and we could get those roller UV reflective
Yeah,
shades.
at least, then at
Because
least
there's already
5
holes
days of the
there.
week, the shades would be down and you wouldn't have an issue.
Yeah,
These
that's
are
a
already
huge-
there.
Are
That's a
those,
huge increase
Yeah.
in.
are those east-west windows too? They are, aren't they? East-west, the windows,
What about it?
east and west?
Yeah,
Well, we've got, the sun comes up,
East,
so they come in, they come in on the east side,
right.
probably till sun coming in, probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's, a lot of light comes in.
Yeah.
It doesn't really come in the other side.
but typically
because of the
doorways
trees,
were
yeah.
always put on the south side, yes?
Well,
To get the maximum exposure to the sun.
And they are
well,
south, yeah.
not the first were always on the east. They faced, the front door faced east, the south side was the side where you had your side garden, fenced in so the cows didn't get in it. Usually the front door was east, in our house anyway.
The schoolhouse faces south, the door, and so did the previous one.
Yep.
And then, so that you've got the most
See,
sunlight during the school day.
Exactly, but a home, you would've wanted that
My
first
fire-
light would've been in the front.
My one-room schoolhouse that I went to, it had the same thing. The sun came right in on it, and you really didn't want to be sitting there when that sun was coming
We
on.
appreciate that Sunday mornings in church.
But in the winter, you didn't want to be next to the furnace or the hot belly stove either,
Yeah.
because it kicked out so much heat. Anyway, well, this is so, could I ask my other question then? I was gonna, my intern question.
Yeah.
What kind of place would we go if we wanted to try to get a grant for interns? I mean, we can go to local institution for saving or 5-cent bank and things like that, but,
Well, Gordon College is willing to send us,
Probably
because it's part of their
They do it
school,
for credit,
it's a credit,
so they'd be free.
and then they have to report back to the
For you,
school,
because
but
you're a
somebody
professional
needs to
librarian.
monitor them.
But I don't know if you could do an archives. Did you do a concentration in archives?
No.
Yeah. I don't know how they would, I'm an adjunct for Simmons, and I've batted around lots of ideas for how to, because my frustration is I see lots of places that don't have a professional
Mhm.
librarian or archivist on staff that desperately need help, but they can't take a Simmons intern. And the Simmons students are in the library program, graduate level courses, becoming librarians and archivists. But for them to have a valuable experience, they are required to be working with a professional. Makes sense. So I don't know, Jean, I mean, you could definitely get someone in, and I've been in Northborough recently, and they've got someone, I think they're actually paying him, but they have a current Simmons student who's doing some work there. And it could be a part reference desk and part, and certainly there's stuff that could be done with the books could be shelf-read, an assessment could be done, which would be useful, be valuable activity for a student of what they think is the most special stuff and what is less special and could maybe come out of the locked cabinets. So that could be a good job. And they could also, identify what you have for archival materials. So maybe that you'd be able to get both.
Those internships tend to run in the summer or during the school year?
They tend to run in the school year
That's what I thought.
for the archives program. I don't think the library program, the school libraries has an internship program, but I don't know that the straight up libraries, if you're going on that track, I don't think they have to take an internship at any point. So that might be another question of how you would get somebody, but I'll ask Donna about whether you being a professional librarian would be sufficient to get in archives. And then the other question is, can you get the Simmons students? I mean, there are some that are coming from other places, and I teach a lot of online students who are all over the country. But a bunch of them are, if they're at the Boston campus, they tend to not have cars, and if you're not on public if you're not on a 500-foot walk from a T-stop, they're not interested. Drives Donna crazy, but.
Now, I think West Newbury has an archivist on staff. I think they actually, I read something the other day about that. I'm wondering if it's something like town to town share them? I mean, okay, 2 days a week here, 2 days a week there, and of course, do they ever do anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the internship for staying with Simmons for right now, the internship for the archives program is 60 hours.
No, I was thinking more of a paid, not an intern, a paid person.
An actual already.
An actual, yes, somebody that the town would hire, but maybe split between Amesbury or Newburyport or whatever.
Well, and if you're paying someone, it doesn't matter that there's a
Exactly.
professional archivist. Although you want to be making sure that you are taking full advantage of paying somebody and that they're doing productive work
Yes.
that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So you want to know that you're guiding them appropriately. But yeah, does Byfield, Newbury, do you guys have CPA funds?
No,
No.
Okay, because that can also be a resource for.
not anymore.
You used to have it?
No, I mean, it's
Oh.
really not anymore. When it first started, it was a great resource.
Oh no, they've come down in terms of the amount,
I mean,
but there's
the
still.
percentage of matching funds and stuff now is just,
I think
it is
that's
just not even worth. We had them in, and when we were still at town hall, and they discussed things, and nobody really was buying it, because, when it first started, it was great. It was like, really,
1-to-1.
it was amazing what they could. Now it's just not, and nobody wanted to really take on that debt that we really weren't gonna match that well with trying to get the funds raised within the town budget to match.
Yeah, well, you gotta tax people, and they're hugely resistant to that, but.
You have no idea. It took them 12 years to decide to build.
Thank God this
85
building is
police
here
stations,
already.
so,
No, I know.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's.
Now we just have to convince them to keep it open.
Yeah.
But,
So it's an odd
I mean,
summer in
it
some
seems like,
places.
when the information that the lady at Gordon College sent me, they pretty much want someone to come in and be, given like a chore
Right.
to use the skills they're learning, so that they can write up a review of what they did with their,
Knowledge, whatever they've been learning.
with their
yeah.
teacher or,
Right.
whatever, and, but they have to have somebody, to ask questions, or
Right.
where would I find this, or what do you want me to do
Right.
with this, or
Yeah.
it seemed more like
Yeah.
they wanna try to, like, student nurses, I mean,
You have to oversee them.
somebody has to be monitoring them, but they're supposed to be able to go in and do certain basic skills, which is what they're going to school for. So it seemed more on that idea, there was no money involved. It's mostly that there's some place for them to try to use the skills they're learning and get in help or whatever from whoever their mentor is at the school,
Right.
so,
Right. Which is what you were saying, and we don't have
Have
an
anybody.
overseer, we don't have somebody who would know what to tell them
but
what to
they
do.
did not ask us, they did not seem to require to have an archivist.
Yeah, they're not
Or
gonna
in-
require, what they probably will want, that they'll wanna know that you've got a project in mind.
Mm,
Yeah, and that's why we didn't do anything yet, cause we were
I
like,
don't know.
But yeah,
we have projects, but we just have no guidelines and no
yeah,
definitive outlook on where we're, what we've got and how we're gonna try to deal with it and where it's gonna go, which is how we got into this collaboration, so that we can try to get
yeah,
the
like, I
help
would,
for the town, which
Yeah.
is
I'll-
what it
I'll-
boils down to.
absolutely, and I'll talk to Donna about a Simmons intern and whether that be a possibility, but I would certainly pursue Gordon once you have an idea of what a project might be. And it might be that, you know, by the time we've looked through things, we've got a better sense
Yeah.
today. Do you have more questions for me? Do you wanna look at some more material?
Maybe it's time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just check in with the staff, but if, you know, if you guys wanna show Rachel around here, we have a few other things in tech services.
Okay.
And I'll just check back in.
Yeah, you're open for business now.
Yeah.
Rachel, did you drive down from Vermont today?
No, I
Oh.
came from Western Mass.
Oh, well, that's just as bad, right? That's a long drive, huh?
Couple hours,
Yeah.
nothing in a day of a life of a road warrior.
Wow. She gets up early. Not me. But if you look at my emails, you'll see you get most of them around 2 in the morning.
Yikes.
I
To
noticed
3 in
that.
the morning.
I noticed that, I almost said to you, what are you doing up?
Okay, I'm gonna shut this.
I'm a night person, I've always have
Ah.
been. So it was really odd working